Ever looked at a map and thought, wow, that's a big country? Well, picture this. An empire so vast it stretched from the Pacific Ocean all the way to the heart of Europe. We're talking about the Mongol Empire, the largest contiguous land empire in history. But just as quickly as it rose, it fractured and faded. So, it begs the question, what if it hadn't? What if the Mongol Empire had lasted? How would our world today be different? Let's start with the most obvious change, the map. Imagine a single, unified political entity stretching from modern-day Korea to Hungary. No Russia, no China as we know them, no Central Asian stands. Instead, a colossal superstate, the Great Mongol State, dominating the Eurasian landmass. The capital? It likely would have remained in the east, perhaps a grander, more developed version of Karakorum, or maybe a strategically located city like Beijing, which Kublai Khan made his capital. This would have shifted the entire planet's center of gravity eastward, centuries before we started talking about the rise of Asia. European capitals like Paris or London would have been, at best, provincial centers on the far western fringe of the civilized world. Now, let's talk about technology and trade. The Mongols were masters of communication and logistics. Their Yam system, a sort of medieval pony express with relay stations, was revolutionary. In a lasting empire, this network would have been upgraded and expanded. Imagine transcontinental highways, not for cars, but for horse-drawn carts and caravans, creating a superhighway of goods and ideas. The Silk Road wouldn't have just been a trade route. It would have been the central artery of a single, integrated economy. Technologies like gunpowder, the compass, and printing, which the Mongols helped spread, would have disseminated even faster. We might have seen an industrial revolution, but one sparked in the heart of Asia, not in the mills of Manchester. The innovations would have been different too, perhaps focusing more on sustainable agriculture, efficient long-distance travel, and large-scale administration, rather than naval power. But this unity would have come at a price. The Mongols were famously or infamously tolerant of different religions, as long as you paid your taxes and didn't cause trouble. This policy of pragmatic tolerance might have continued. We could have seen a world where Buddhism, Islam, and various forms of Christianity coexisted more fluidly, without the centuries of religious wars that defined European history. The Pope in Rome would have had little influence, and the Protestant Reformation might never have happened, simply because the conditions for it wouldn't have existed. However, this doesn't mean it would have been a utopia. The Mongol ruling class would have remained at the top, and a rigid social hierarchy, with Mongols and their allies in charge, would have been the norm. The concept of the nation-state, a core part of our modern identity, likely wouldn't have developed. You wouldn't be French or German, you'd be a subject of the Great Khan. This leads us to culture. What would our art, our music, our food be like? Mongol culture would have blended with the traditions of the peoples they ruled. Imagine a world where the dominant architectural style combined Chinese pagodas with Persian domes, where the most popular music fused Mongolian throat singing with the melodies of the Russian steppes. The global lingua franca might not be English, but a Turkic-Mongolian hybrid language, peppered with loanwords from Chinese and Persian. Instead of Shakespeare and Mozart, our cultural titans might be names we've never heard of. Poets and artists from Samarkand or Xanadu. The food. Think of the ultimate fusion cuisine. Dumplings filled with spiced lamb, noodles served with yogurt and dill. A global palate defined by the tastes of the steppe and the Silk Road. But what about the rest of the world? Without the Mongol threat to unite against, and without the immense wealth of the Asian trade routes to chase, what would have happened to Europe? The age of discovery might have been completely different. Blocked from the overland routes to the east by a powerful unified Mongol state, Europeans might have been even more motivated to find a sea route to the Indies. So, perhaps Columbus still sails. But what does he find? An America that develops without the influence of competing European powers. And when the Europeans arrive, they aren't the vanguards of world-spanning empires, but traders from a relatively minor peninsula on the edge of the great Mongol world. The power dynamic would have been completely flipped, and this is perhaps the biggest change of all. A lasting Mongol Empire means a world that never experienced centuries of European colonialism. The very ideas that underpinned colonialism, ideas of cultural and racial superiority, would have been alien. The world would be more multicultural, perhaps, but also more autocratic. The great philosophical movements of the European Enlightenment, which gave us concepts like democracy, human rights, and individual liberty, might never have taken root. The dominant political philosophy would have been one of loyalty to the Khan, of order imposed from the top down, and the importance of the collective over the individual. It's a fascinating and perhaps a little unsettling thought. Our world would be unrecognizable, a place with different borders, different technologies, different beliefs, and a completely different understanding of who we are and our place in the world. It's a powerful reminder of how a single twist of fate, the survival of a single empire, could have rewritten the entire story of humanity. So what do you think? Would a world under a lasting Mongol Empire have been a better place? A more peaceful, interconnected world, or a more authoritarian one, where individual freedoms were stifled? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Thanks for joining me on this journey through alternate history. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you do not miss our next exploration into the great what-ifs of the past.